Hello and welcome to the second module in the Program Management Systems and Effective HIV/STI Programs for MSM chapter of the MSM Implementation Toolkit, or MSMIT, a tool that offers practical guidance for implementing comprehensive HIV and STI programs for gay, bisexual and other men who have sex with men. This training is brought to you by MSMGF, the Global Forum on Men who have sex with men and HIV. In this fourth module, titled Capacity Building of Organizations of MSM, we introduce concrete steps to strengthening capacity and program learning in MSM-led programmatic interventions. After completing this module, you should have a basic understanding of 1. The need for capacity building in organizations of MSM. 2. Principles that should govern capacity building. And 3. Concrete ways to support organizational capacity across a spectrum of program areas. With this focus in mind, let's begin. In many settings, NGOs have limited experience implementing interventions with men who have sex with men, and organizations of men who have sex with men that provide services are small. A capacity strengthening system can assist in addressing the varying needs of implementing organizations to achieve comprehensive, high-quality programming for men who have sex with men. Training the human resources of an organization is one way to build capacity. Because MSM staff and non-MSM staff may differ significantly in types and levels of experience, it is important to take this into consideration when designing training goals for the capacity building activities. Listed here are two different capacity strengthening areas for MSM and non-MSM staff. Organizational capacity building is a comprehensive approach to strengthening an organization's ability to plan, manage, and finance itself so that it can implement its own vision and strategy. At the same time, capacity building helps the organization deliver on indicators and targets of government, donors, and technical assistance agencies where these are a source of funding. Capacity building should be governed by a set of general principles which can be adapted if necessary. These principles are as follows. Capacity building should be comprehensive. Acknowledging all the capacity building needs of an organization allows for a more systematic approach and the opportunity to address all the essential needs. Contextualized and customized. The support should address the specific cultural, political and social settings of the organization being strengthened. Locally owned. Groups supporting capacity building may understand the processes and can help the organization of men who have sex with men identify needs. But unless that organization makes its own decisions, capacity building efforts will not be as successful. Readiness-based. The type, level and amount of capacity building should be based on the organization's ability to absorb and use the support being given. Inward, outward orientated. While it is essential for an organization to ensure the health of its staff and internal structures, it is also important to remember that any organization is part of a larger community and needs to understand opportunities for partnership and the potential benefits from external links. Sustainability-based. Capacity building should strengthen an organization's ability to maintain a resource base so that it may continue to function well. And learning-focused. An organization that does not continue to learn about its function, beneficiaries, community, technical areas, etc., will become stagnant and cease to be relevant. There are a number of concrete areas of focus for organizational capacity building that can actualize these principles in reality. For the remainder of this module, we will look at each of these aspects in more detail. A first step towards enhanced organizational capacity is to register as an organization. Organizations of MSM are likely to begin as informal groups that then create structures and processes to carry out their agenda more effectively. One way to do this is to formally register as an organization, which can happen in a number of ways. Regardless of which approach is chosen, if an organization of men who have sex with men is to have true accountability and credibility, ownership must rest with the community, Its form and function should be based on the needs and priorities identified by its members, which may include priorities other than those focused on HIV. It is crucial for the partner to understand that the organization needs to be given the freedom to navigate its own organizational trajectory. Depending on the organization's type, size and goals, as well as the country in which it is forming, it may decide to become a legally registered entity. The process varies from country to country. The necessary registration materials must be obtained from the relevant government office. Precise requirements for documentation are set out by individual governments, but some examples of the types of documentation required are listed here. Take a moment to check your understanding. True or false? The only goal of capacity building is to help an organization meet program targets. The answer is false. Capacity building helps organizations to achieve program targets and simultaneously strengthens the organization's ability to manage itself, making it sustainable. Organizational capacity strengthening is another important component of organizations operating at maximum strength. Organizations can also build their capacities in specific areas. A best practice is for an organization to undergo a capacity assessment. There are many tools for this, including self-assessment tools, although a good assessment by an outside facilitator can bring out issues that an organization might not identify itself. The assessment provides the organization with a capacity-building plan to address the identified areas for improvement. What follows is a detailed exploration of some areas of focus such assessment might surface. Organizations should still conduct their own assessment process to ensure their capacity-building efforts are attuned to their own unique needs. One potential area for organizational capacity building is governance. Listed here are some best practices for governance. It is important for an organization to have a clear vision. There are often many internal and external pressures on an organization to address issues that may not be within its real area of concern, and the vision allows it to stay focused on what it has identified as its core mission. A board gives strategic direction, provides support in legal affairs, accounting, and protects the organization. In the case of organizations of men who have sex with men, a board may include members with the connections and influence to advocate to reduce stigma and help with fundraising. Project management is another potential area for capacity building. An organization's agenda is accomplished through concrete activities, often developed as programs and projects. Well-managed, technically sound projects and programs not only ensure that organizational objectives are achieved, but also instill confidence in donors and key stakeholders about the competence of the organization. Technical support and technical capacity building are other important facets of organizational capacity building. Some examples are listed here. Technical support should aim to strengthen the capacity of organizations to operate effectively and in the interests of their communities, as well as address programmatic issues. Organizational development issues include governance, transparency, and accountability to the constituent community, management, supervision and recruitment of staff and volunteers, partnerships and coordination with other organizations and services, financial management systems, and monitoring and adapting to change. Technical or programmatic issues include participatory assessments and other forms of community engagement, service-related skills such as outreach, counseling, clinical service support, community-led HIV testing, depending on the organization's role, and advocacy. Resource mobilization and financial management are both key areas for capacity strengthening. Listed here is a list of key considerations with respect to resource mobilization. Organizations should always be engaged in resource mobilization to fund efforts on a long-term basis as funding is vital to the effective functioning of organizations. It is important that the organization be strategic and look beyond the short term, especially if it is currently benefiting from a grant that will end after several years. While there is no guarantee that an organization will be able to raise money, there are best practices that may help it do so. Financial management is another key component of organizational sustainability. Here you will find listed the components of a strong financial management system. Financial management can be developed in a number of ways depending on the capacity of the organization, its resources, and the complexity of its finances. An organization may manage its finances in-house or may outsource the work to another local organization. Networking is another important aspect of organizational strengthening. Some potential networking partners are listed here. Networking involves donors, communities, government at both national and local levels, service providers, and NGO networks. Two areas of networking that are especially important for organizations of men who have sex with men are engagement with the state, for example with politicians, police, health and social entitlement programs, and engagement with non-state organizations and institutions. It is particularly important for MSM to engage with the state as it enables programs for men who have sex with men to advocate for access to health services, freedom from discrimination and harassment, protection from and redress for violence, and securing rights and entitlements as citizens. In addition to networking with the state, it is also important for organizations of MSM to network with non-state organizations and institutions, examples of which are listed here. Capacity building can help organizations of men who have sex with men analyze the significance of socially powerful groups or institutions, such as religious groups and the media, and learn how to engage and influence them. Examples include changing a church's focus from condemning homosexuality to respect for people with HIV, or encouraging newspapers to report positively and accurately about men who have sex with men and their efforts to reduce HIV infection. Before moving on, please consider the questions presented in this self-check and assess your understanding of the information presented in this module. This brings us to the end of the fourth module in the Program Management Systems and Effective HIV/STI Programs for MSM chapter of the MSMIT. To review, in this module we have introduced capacity building in organizations of MSM as an essential step in implementing effective programs. We looked at general principles of capacity building as well as specific areas organizations can focus their capacity building efforts. In the next module, we will explore programming in difficult and/or dangerous contexts.